Hello, world. Frida Reba Darcy and Patricia O'Connor here. It is one beautiful day in Alameda. The sun's shining, temperatures are getting warm, and we got a pretty heavy rain last night. So it's a day when some things will need watering, some things not so much. Everything on the rail got a good, healthy, good drink of water. But this program is going to be a little bit about our watering. I've moved this little pine tree back from its normal position, which would be there. There it gets, as you can see, it gets daylight from the sun right there, but it also gets from my overhead. In this position, it gets shadowed. It just gets more overhead. But this is a fallback position that keeps me from that keeps this little pine tree from being overwatered, which is something that has been an issue this year. So now we go back. I don't like moving trees as much as what I'm moving these. We can't let them just totally get watered that much. So now, this tree didn't get watered. This tree haven't been watered today. It should have been out of the water last night. I'm checking it. I go down an inch. It's ready. This tree, not ready. This tree, also in its fallback position, although this is not a bad position for it, I think. Could be ready. Wisterias are always ready. This guy got watered. This guy got heavily watered. This guy got heavily watered. You can see the water is still basically standing on the top substrate is still very, very, very much wet, as is the Dawn Redwood, and it is and it's starting to push out more. It's just slowly but surely pushing that stuff right on out. So what you ideally want is the whole kind of the thing about the bonsai pots is it should help us regulate our watering. And in an ideal situation, whether a tree likes a little bit of water or it likes to be a little wetter than that, whatever it is, in an ideal situation, you would have an exchange of water to oxygen, which is to say that when you water, the water level goes through the plant or goes through the pot, and as it comes out of the bottom, it would suck in the atmosphere behind it, the oxygen behind it. And that would create a time of dry, whether it's a time of complete dryness, the way some trees would prefer is one way to do it, or whether or not you just let the air get in there and kind of keep it from getting stale and damp and making some sort of toxin, and then you water again. So it's always whether you water a little or whether your tree likes a little or a lot of water. It's always still going to be about the exchange of water and oxygen. That's important. Like, for instance, a tree that takes an awful lot of water would be a wisteria. And when it came to my wisteria, I let the soil get in the roots get rancid on one of my trees because I didn't overwater it as far as the number of times that I watered it. What I did do was planted it in a substrate that, combined with a bonsai pot, meant that I would be watering it every day, and it would never quite dry out in between waterings because it was the soil would retain. So that ended up becoming a toxic, white fly infested mess. What did I learn? Well, the tree was in a bonsai pot. So if you're going to put it in a bonsai pot, put it with some bonsai substrate so that when you water, the water will go all the way through. And then you can come by, and then if it gets dry, water it again. In the summer, you are definitely going to have to water a lot of your trees more than once. So that's why I have these also. I brought some skewers. Today I have a couple of tools with me out on the balcony. I brought my little skewers, and I brought some wire cutters. I just want to get this moss. This moss always looks really, really good and lush and green, and you see me getting rid of it right here, right now. That's just root maintenance. I don't want it taken over and causing damage to the trunk of the tree and or the roots. So we're addressing that. As far as this moss, this stuff is keeper. I've got my colander sitting off to the side. We will mix in other batches of this moss with some sphagnum moss, and then stir all that up, let it dry real good, and then I'll probably put it back out in this pot so that we'll get a more even patch of moss next time around instead of just in patches, maybe. And but even then I will still be keeping it. I'll still be keeping the moss off trying to work it off the roots. Okay, so that's just a little quick side note about that. But last night we had more of our atmospheric rivers. It rained an awful lot. So, and it blew in somewhat. So rather than, and you think rainwater is good for trees, and in a lot of ways, I love rainwater. When it's falling through the sky, it's just picking up as much oxygen as it can possibly hold. And you kind of feel like when the water droplets hit the substrate, it sort of just injects that oxygen right in there, But on the other hand, we've been getting way too much water for some of these trees. The oaks can hang with it. They're fine with it. It's causing them to do this bust out stuff. The maples, kind of the same way. They're not over it yet. The cypress trees, absolutely. These guys get about a half of one of these a day. So when it comes to my cypress trees, my largest watering can, I unload about half of that watering can in this one container. Now the other half these days is going towards our pine tree seedlings. And we're just still waiting to see our little guys start popping. Shouldn't be, I think was told like 3 weeks or something. So that's about, we're not a week away, not a week into this yet. So we still have a little ways to go. Now, this big watering can, or plastic, it's not a can, but this big watering container does come in handy. You notice I'm not getting a lot of water. I'm not getting a lot of water on the foliage of these guys. I just have to switch hands. I know that was really klutzy, but I need to get in there behind that. And when I water, it would be kind of easy to get the wrong idea about watering. I'm here on an apartment, so all the water that we put, we need to be conscientious about it. We need to pay attention to where it goes, and not host down or downstairs neighbor or anything like that. So for that reason, these trees are all in the trough that we made. And that actually goes to a hole that's underneath this pot, and it goes to a vat, which is right there. You can see it. With all the rain, the vat's full. Normally, it would evaporate off before it gets too full. That's just how far out we've been on our rain season so far. So this moss needs to dry out, but basically I'm breaking it up and mixing it in with this stuff. We'll let that bake in more. Now you can kind of see what I've got going on with this tree. This has been our ongoing project. Go with my second watering can here. So what I do with this guy is I water around the base when it needs watering. Trying to be really careful to not interfere with all of that. This is a little spastic because I'm doing it with one hand while I'm holding the camera. But yeah, I'm a little less spastic every day when I do this for reals. But then after I've watered all the way around the base to an amount that I know that we are thoroughly watered, then I reach for Mr. And this is the same moss. This is the same moss that I'm using right there, that I packed the roots of this guy in. I said it now looks like a little pig, or maybe a little bear. But the idea here is, since I repotted this a few months ago, after I water the base, water the pot through, then I come back through and I spray the teetotal crud out of this. I just spray it and spray it and spray it until I can see the water standing up on it when I spray it. So yeah, you can see the moss. It's already starting to take off on that a little bit. There's a green hue. I just had a little bit on this pot, and I picked it up and threw it in there as I was doing it, and it's already taken over. So that's kind of got us on that guy, but we still have a ways to go. The maples are probably one of my trickier ones, and it's not overall tricky. Let's just get these pines while we're here. There's about 15 to 25 pine tree seeds in each one of these pots. They were just the ones that I had left over that I'm going, ooh, what am I going to do with those? So that's kind of what happened there. And then while we're here, we'll give our little mugo pine a little drink. Now, this one, I like to start with just the right amount of water because I'm reaching out, and it's also a tricky reach. You'll see me get the leaves wet, but I'm trying to avoid that. These Kodaheim maple, the Kodaheim maples do not do as well when you let water stand on their leaves. They will get powdery mildew very, very fast. I think out of everybody up here, my Ponderosa is probably the only one that actually needs water right now. The other Ponderosa is good. All of those guys are good. All of these guys are good. This is good. All of those, none of those need watering. These are all covered. So it's really important, because I live on an apartment, it'd be easy to go, well, don't overwater, just water as much as it needs, so you don't have as much stuff running out the bottom. That's not how we do that in bonsai. The part where we're in a restricted pot means when we water, we need to water thoroughly. When the drains, it needs to drain thoroughly. And both of those two actions combined lead to that exchange of water and oxygen. And that's what keeps for a healthy, that's what makes for a healthy system, root system. And and that's what helps everything stay all happy and healthy. So, yeah. So if you can't do that, or if you feel like because the tree is inside, or because, if you've got a tropical and you've got it inside or something, and you feel like you have to water it less so that you can, as a means of trying to manage water, you should probably think about catch containers or something. I don't think just watering the tree less is a healthy solution. That's what I'm saying. That will lead to a weakening condition of the tree. Trying to get these zip ties out once I've cut them, and so far they're winning. Let go. Okay. Still got one. Missed. Okay. You're free, simply paid. All right, so that's typically it for my morning. I would normally, if these little guys up here, a lot of times they'll get watered once a day. They got watered last night and this morning with what was blowing in. Everything looked pretty much watered. This stuff, as you go farther in, less so, but it's still got enough to where we're still in drying out mode. And I think we have more rains coming, but most of this day left to go also. So, and we're just going to hang out and enjoy the sunshine. And just hang out and enjoy the sunshine. So I'll circle back through here later this afternoon and make sure that everybody is still in a state of comfy water-wise. When it gets warm, we water more than once a day on quite a few of these trees. Otherwise, the pines and stuff will water like maybe twice in 3 days. That's how it sort of seems to work out a lot of times. Not quite multiple times a day, not quite every day, but when it starts to warm up and stuff, we'll find that we'll water in 1 or 2 more times than there are the number of days, because that's how fast they go through the water. And then when it gets hotter, our evaporation rate drives that even more. So just a little bit about watering. We have to be careful about it. We have to do it thoroughly. We have to take care of our trees that way, and we have to not hold back on the water because we're worried about runoff, but we have to address our runoff so that that's not an issue. Right now, this will, between now and summer, as their water usage goes up, this will become an issue with the amount of rain we've been having. Nobody's noticed where the water's coming from, whether it's coming off my balcony or the sky, but as these guys, their water usage comes up, I have some trays kind of stored down there. I'll have to replace those with drip trays to actually catch all of this. That is pretty much handled because it leans back towards the trough behind it. And this is pretty much handled because that is one large copper gutter. The cypress trees are handled by their water by drip pans down here, which catches them. And that only pretty much leaves the 2 potted plants. And that I do kind of cheat on. I don't tend to water those all the way through. But they're not my bonsai trees. They're my potted house plant. So yeah, if I hosed those through and watered them correctly like bonsai, I would have a drainage issue over those and it would pour all out. I tend not to water them enough to let them do that, but they seem to be happy as houseplants, and they get taken care of sort of better because they're hanging out and with a pretty uppity crowd. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Our next drop will probably bring something in and maintain it or cut on it or repot it or something tonight. And other than that, enjoy your day.